My girlfriend demanded I hand over my phone passwords because love means no privacy. When I refused, she locked me out of my own accounts and smirked. If you have nothing to hide, prove it. Her friends nodded in agreement as I pulled out a new phone and said, then watch how fast I walk away. Hey Reddit, I need to get this off my chest. This happened a few months ago, and it's been eating at me ever since. I, 32 male, was in a relationship with a woman, 30 female, for about a year and a half. Let's call her S. We met in Chicago, both working in the same tech firm. Things started great, but they took a turn I never expected. S and I met at a company event. She was charismatic, intelligent, and had this energy that drew people in. We started dating shortly after, and everything seemed perfect. We had similar interests, enjoyed the same movies, and even had the same favorite pizza place in the city. About 6 months into our relationship, S started making comments about trust and transparency. She'd say things like, if you have nothing to hide, why not share your phone password? At first I laughed it off, thinking she was joking. But she wasn't. I value my privacy. Not because I have something to hide, but because I believe everyone deserves personal space, even in a relationship. I explained this to her, hoping she'd understand. She nodded but didn't seem convinced. Over the next few months, the topic came up repeatedly. S would get upset if I received a text and didn't immediately show her. She'd question me about my social media interactions, asking why I liked a particular post or who a certain person was. One evening, we were out with her friends. The conversation shifted to relationships and trust. One of her friends mentioned that she and her boyfriend shared all their passwords. S looked at me and said, see? That's real trust. I felt cornered but stood my ground. A week later, S sat me down and said, I need your phone passwords. All of them. If you truly love me, you'll do this. I was taken aback. I reiterated my stance on privacy and trust. She became visibly upset, accusing me of hiding things and not being committed. I tried to reason with her, explaining that trust isn't about surveillance but understanding and respect. She didn't budge. The next morning, I tried logging into my email and social media accounts. Passwords were changed. I was locked out of everything. Panic set in. I called S, and she answered, sounding smug. If you have nothing to hide, prove it, she said before hanging up. I was furious. Not only did she invade my privacy, but she also took control of my personal accounts. I felt violated. I went to the store, bought a new phone, and set up new accounts. I ensured all my data was secure and unreachable. Then I packed my things and left. I couldn't be in a relationship where trust was equated with control. S tried reaching out multiple times, apologizing and claiming she acted out of love. But for me, the damage was done. Trust, once broken, is hard to rebuild. I've learned that in a healthy relationship, trust is built on mutual respect, not surveillance. Everyone deserves privacy, and love shouldn't come with ultimatums. A few weeks after I left, things got weird. I thought blocking her on everything would be enough, but apparently S wasn't done. I started getting strange emails, anonymous accounts, all saying things like, cowards run from love, and, if you had nothing to hide, you wouldn't be scared. I ignored them at first. Figured it was just her lashing out. Then my work started getting emails. Anonymous complaints. Stuff about me. Misusing company property. Or accessing secure data for personal use. I work in cybersecurity, so this was serious. HR called me in, and I had to explain everything. Luckily, I had proof on my side. Device logs, security keys, timestamps. Still, it was humiliating. It felt like someone had opened all the windows in my life and just let the storm come in. I knew it was her. No one else would go that far. No one else had that kind of access or grudge. The last email I saw before reporting it had one line. You chose secrets over me. Enjoy the consequences. I didn't reply. I went straight to a lawyer. Turns out, even though she had no legal right to lock me out of anything, proving she was the one behind the emails wasn't simple. VPNs, burner accounts, fake names. She was covering her tracks. My lawyer said I could go after her for harassment and hacking, but we need more evidence. So I waited. Documented everything. Every time a new email came in, every fake profile that popped up, I saved it. A few weeks later, I got a call from an old college friend who now worked in a data analysis firm. We'd stayed in touch loosely, but not often. He told me someone had applied to a job at his company using my resume and details. But with one big difference: the name was changed to Stanley, and the work history was tweaked to make me look incompetent. He sent me the file. It was my resume, same formatting, same layout, even the same typo I'd meant to fix for months. But the email and phone number were fake. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was sabotage. Full-on identity war. I started to wonder if I ever really knew her. Was this all boiling under the surface from day one? Or did something snap when I said no to the passwords? I reached out to a mutual friend, one who had kept her distance from the drama. I asked if she'd seen or heard anything strange. She hesitated but said, "You didn't hear it from me, but she's been telling people you cheated. That you stole from her. That you were emotionally abusive." That hit like a punch to the gut. It wasn't enough to control my accounts. She was trying to rewrite the whole story. I wasn't just a bad boyfriend in her eyes, I was a villain. I tried not to care what people thought, but that's hard when you work in tech and reputation is everything. It's even harder when old friends start acting cold, distant. A few even blocked me without a word. At this point, I felt like I was living in a parallel world. My life looked the same on the outside, but behind every screen, someone was pulling strings. She wanted me isolated, erased. Then one day, I got a call from her mother. I hadn't saved the number, but I recognized the voice right away. Calm, older, heavy with tension. She said, "I don't agree with how she handled things. But I think you should know, she's not well. She's seeing a therapist now, but things have escalated." I didn't know what to say. Her mom didn't ask for forgiveness. She didn't ask me to go back. Just said she hoped I stayed safe, and that she was sorry for everything. I hung up and stared at the wall for a long time. There was a part of me that felt bad. That remembered the good parts of S. The trips, the jokes, the nights where we talked about the future like it was something beautiful we were building together. But all of that was buried now, replaced with chaos and paranoia. And just when I thought it might finally be over, I got a new notification. It was a photo. Sent to my new number. It was my apartment. Taken from across the street. No caption. Just that. I didn't move for a full minute. Just stared at the photo. My heart was racing like it wanted out of my chest. I lived on the 4th floor of a small apartment building in Lakeview. Quiet neighborhood. A good place to start fresh. I chose it because it felt private. Safe. I looked again. The photo wasn't just from across the street, it was zoomed in, framed perfectly to show my windows. Curtains drawn, but the angle was calculated. Like someone had been standing there, waiting for the right moment. Watching. I closed the blinds, turned off all the lights, and sat on the floor with my back to the wall. The silence in the room felt too loud. My phone vibrated again. Another photo. This time, it was of the coffee shop 2 blocks from my place. I'd gone there earlier that morning. Same time, same table. The timestamp matched. My heart sank. I called the police. They sent someone over to take a report, but without direct threats or proof of who sent it, they couldn't do much. I showed them the photos, explained the backstory. The officer nodded, sympathetic, but the answer was the same. If she hasn't broken the law directly, there's not much we can do. I went to stay with my brother in Evanston for a few days. Tried to get some space, think clearly. He didn't ask a lot of questions, just handed me a beer and let me crash in the guest room. The 3rd day there, I checked my email. There was one unread message sent just an hour ago. Subject: You still think you're safe? No body text. Just an attachment. I knew I shouldn't open it, but I did. It was a screenshot of a group chat. Me, my boss, 2 coworkers. We use it for work-related check-ins. The creepy part? I didn't take that screenshot. It was from someone else's device. Mine had 2-factor authentication, biometric lock, and a VPN. So either she got access to someone else's phone, or someone else gave it to her. I contacted IT at work and reported a possible breach. We ran a security audit. It took 2 days to confirm. Someone had used a cloned device with access to our internal network. All signs pointed to one of my coworkers, a guy I'd always gotten along with. Turns out, he and S had dated briefly in college. She reconnected with him right after I left her. Told him she needed closure. What she actually needed was a way in. I confronted him. He admitted it. Said he thought she was in trouble, said she told him I was dangerous. He gave her temporary access to the work server from his home network, thinking he was helping her gather evidence. Evidence of what? She said you were running a burner operation. That you were laundering money through crypto accounts at work. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This wasn't just obsession anymore. She was building an alternate version of my life, one where I was the criminal and she was the hero. And now she had someone on the inside. Unwitting or not. I went to my lawyer with everything. Emails. Screenshots. My coworker's statement. This time, he didn't hesitate. She's not just harassing you. She's framing you. We're filing a restraining order, and we're going to press charges for cyberstalking, identity theft, and defamation. We got the paperwork going that same day. 2 days later, my lawyer called again. His voice was tense. You need to come to the office. Now. When I got there, he slid a manila folder across the desk. Inside were printouts from an anonymous blog. Multiple posts. All about me. Fake stories. Some saying I assaulted her, others claiming I had a history of harassment, even criminal records. None of it was real, but the blog was well written, full of detail. It was the kind of thing that looked legit to anyone who didn't know better. The comments were even worse. Dozens of them. Angry. Threatening. A few had my full name, my photo, my workplace. One had my new address. She was trying to ruin my life, piece by piece. We got the site flagged, and I reached out to an investigator my lawyer recommended, someone who specialized in cyber harassment and stalking. They started digging deeper. That's when we found out she wasn't working alone. There was a pattern in the IP logs. Multiple locations. Same timestamps. Messages sent within seconds of each other from different states. She had help. Maybe one person, maybe more. A friend? A family member? Someone from one of those Reddit groups that feed on revenge stories and encourage people to get justice, by any means? It didn't matter. I knew now it was bigger than just her. It was a network, a full-blown smear campaign. I started getting phone calls from unknown numbers. Death threats. People telling me they were coming for me. My photo was circulating on forums I'd never even heard of. They were calling me Crypto Creeper and saying I was part of some dark web ring. It was completely insane. And through it all, she never contacted me directly again. She didn't have to. My head was spinning. I couldn't sleep. Couldn't eat. Every sound outside made me check the window. I stopped walking to the store. Took different routes to work. I started carrying pepper spray even in daylight. I didn't tell anyone at work what was going on, not fully. I didn't want pity. I didn't want to look paranoid. But I was. I was terrified. The private investigator found something 2 weeks later. One of the IP addresses used to run the smear blog and send those anonymous emails was tied to a place in Indiana. A cabin. Owned by her cousin. They tracked the location's usage and found S had been there multiple times over the past few months. And it wasn't just her. At least 2 other people had accessed that connection and uploaded files, probably her helpers. We handed everything to the lawyer. This time, we weren't asking for anything. We were going after her. The investigator worked with law enforcement. They got a warrant to trace the devices. She made it easy. She had pictures of me still saved in hidden folders. Copies of fake messages she'd made up. Screenshots of chats she faked between me and women I'd never met. It was all in one laptop, labeled with a folder name. Insurance. She didn't even try to hide it. I got the call the morning she was arrested. She tried to play innocent. Told them it was a misunderstanding, said she was the victim. But the files spoke for themselves. The messages. The photos. The software used to mimic chats. The way she broke into accounts, cloned devices, sent false tips to employers and law enforcement. All of it stacked up. The other people involved were tracked too. One was her ex-roommate. The other was that coworker who gave her access. They didn't know the full extent of what she was doing. But they helped her. That made them part of it. They got deals. Community service, fines, records sealed if they stayed clean. She wasn't that lucky. They charged her with cyberstalking, identity theft, falsifying evidence, harassment, and a few other things I didn't even fully understand. She tried to plead insanity. Her lawyers argued she had a breakdown after a traumatic breakup. Said she wasn't thinking clearly, was in emotional pain. But the jury saw the planning. The steps. The cruelty. She got time. Not decades. Not life. But enough. Enough to lose her job. Enough to get her name tied to the case on every search engine. Enough to make sure she wouldn't be able to use a computer in any job again without people knowing what she did. Her mother reached out to me again after the sentencing. Sent a handwritten letter. It was sad. You could feel the shame in every word. She didn't beg. She just said sorry. Said her daughter was broken in ways she hadn't known. That the person I knew wasn't always who she was. That she hoped I could heal. I didn't respond. I thought that was the end. But it wasn't. A few months later, I got a package in the mail. No return address. I hesitated to open it. But I did. Inside was a single USB drive. Nothing else. I didn't plug it into my own laptop. I took it to a friend who worked in digital forensics. They ran it through an isolated system. It was a video. It was me and S, one of our old vacations. Recorded without my knowledge. Just her filming me walking on the beach, eating breakfast, lying on a hotel bed scrolling my phone. Creepy stuff. Personal. Stuff you don't think someone would save forever. But at the end of the video, there was a final clip. Different. It was her, sitting in that cabin in Indiana. Talking to the camera. She said my name. Said she regretted getting caught, not doing more. Said I deserved worse. Then she smiled and said, "But now you'll always wonder who else was watching." That was it. End of video. We traced the package to a shipping center in Ohio. No cameras. Paid in cash. That's when I knew this might never really be over. That some people, when they fall, don't just burn, they light everything around them on fire and laugh while it all turns to ash. She wanted me to feel powerless. But here's the thing. I made mistakes too. I ignored red flags. I gave her chances when I shouldn't have. I thought love could fix control. That empathy could cure obsession. I was wrong. I won't ever make that mistake again.